Ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum and good afternoon. Thank you for joining us for this year's Husayn Summit. The idea behind this summit is to create a forum to discuss and debate social justice issues, to discuss how we can make society better, how we can make society more inclusive, more fair, more progressive, more equitable. This year's themes are twofold: female leadership and speaking truth to power. And we're excited about today. We're excited that over 700 people across the country have registered. We expect over 550 to attend. We're excited that so many wonderful speakers and panelists have taken time out to be here with us today. And most of all, we're excited that today is an opportunity for us to share the illuminating and radiant personalities who resonate so strongly with us and so passionately with our hearts today, and that is Lady Zainab and Imam Husayn. A lot has been written about Imam Husayn's stance for social justice, a stance he shared with his sister, Lady Zainab. For example, Mahatma Gandhi, the founder of modern-day India, has said, "I learned from Husayn how to achieve victory whilst being oppressed." He also said, "If India wants to be successful as a country, it must follow in the footsteps of Husayn." Nelson Mandela too was inspired by Imam Husayn. He said, and I quote, "I spent 20 years in prison, and then one night I decided to surrender by signing all the terms and conditions put in front of me by the government. But then I suddenly thought about Imam Husayn and the Karbala movement, and Imam Husayn gave me the strength to stand up and fight for my rights, for freedom and liberation, and then I did." The world knows about Mandela, the world knows about Gandhi, and the world knows about so many other social justice leaders. But it's equally important, in fact, I say it's our duty for the world to know about their inspiration, Imam Husayn. This year's special focus, ladies and gentlemen, is on the sister of Imam Husayn, Lady Zainab. So why does Lady Zainab mean so much to us? Why does it stand in the stand of her brother over 1400 years ago against oppression, against a despicable despot, an autocrat, a tyrant of his time? Why does it instill in us such an enormous affection, an enormous passion, an enormous intensity within our hearts? The truth is, ladies and gentlemen, is because Zainab, despite the unimaginable oppression against her, despite all the violence conducted against her family, despite all the threats, Zainab stood unshakably for justice. She never wavered, she never cowered, and her faith in her Lord, in her mission for justice, was unflinching. I know, I need to tell you a little bit about Lady Zainab and introduce her to you a little bit. Lady Zainab, at the tender age of 5, for example, witnessed the death of her grandfather, Prophet Muhammad. Some months later, Lady Zainab witnessed the passing away of her mother, Lady Fatima, whose house was famously attacked, ransacked, and set on fire. Lady Zainab saw oppression from this age onwards. Zainab saw, for example, the first-hand poisoning of her brother Hassan, whose body was even attacked en route to the burial site. Zainab saw this new leader of the Muslim world, Yazid, the despicable despot, forcibly trying to gain allegiance from her brother some years later. A move that would have given him great legitimacy. In a bid to avoid this, in a bid to avoid all bloodshed, Husayn left where he was in Medina and went to Iraq. But there he was surrounded. He was joined on this journey by his family and his friends. He and 72 male members were mercilessly and brutally killed, and they died thirsty in the desert. Their bodies were mutilated. And Zainab witnessed this all alone. This is when Zainab's leadership came to the fore. Whilst the male members of her family had been killed, it was Zainab who took the leadership over the holy household at this critical, monumental hour. Father Khalisi shortly will no doubt share with you more details on her life, including the journey she made from Karbala to Kufa and then onwards to Damascus. For me, the moment that defines her unbelievable strength, her determination to stand up against tyranny, is her encounter then with Yazid, the so-called leader of the Muslim world. So picture this scene. Zainab and her family, including young children, have been dragged in chains from city to city. from Iraq, Karbala, to Kufa, from Kufa to Damascus in Syria. Even in Damascus, when they arrive, they have stones pelted at them and boiling water thrown on them. And Yazid is inside his palace, fortified with a large gathering. Yazid invites dignitaries, even including the Roman ambassador, to show his strength, his victory over Husayn. And then in comes Zainab and the children and the family of Husayn. And this is where Zainab shone. Zainab challenged Yazid, who was poking the head of her brother with a stick and making fun out of her. But the dialogue between Zainab and Yazid left Yazid humiliated. I'd like to quote only one phrase from the famous words that historians have written of what she said to Yazid, the despicable despot, on that day. She said, "By him, who honored us with revelation, the book and prophethood. You cannot achieve," she tells Yazid, "our status, our position, nor can you affect our mention, nor remove from yourself the shame and the dishonor that you have now perpetuated with your excess and your oppression on us." She then tellingly says, your word is now weak, your days are now numbered. Zainab, the captive, inspires us, because despite seeing all this oppression firsthand, the killing of Husayn, the family of Husayn, the companions of Husayn, even the 6-month-old baby of Husayn, Zainab, after being taken from town to town as a captive, Zainab stands up with strength and with conviction and speaks truth to power. Her words to Yazid catalyzed the toppling of Yazid and inspired many millions around the world to speak up, whatever the consequences. So now, back to today's summit. We as organizers feel that the panels arranged today are really quite apt. The first panel is on female leadership, the challenges and the barriers that we in society put in place, sometimes even subconsciously. Our second and third panels are on speaking truth to power. We're excited about the journeys and to hear the journeys of people like Baroness Varsi and Joe Swinson, amongst others, what they've had to go through to kind of continue with their principles, to stand up for their values and their beliefs. And our third panel, I think, is quite a cracker. It's a debate on how we can make foreign policy fairer. We really do have, ladies and gentlemen, all the ingredients to have a really special summit. So once again, thank you for being here. Thank you for your support. And thank you for making it happen. Thank you.